The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
Hooray for Hollywood, where stars are living large, in mansions with their servants and their credit cards in charge, with fame that's fleeting, but the egos never change, where everyone's a genius, except the ones who really arrange. Hooray for Hollywood, where the scandals always sell, where every whispered secret is a new tabloid's tell. Oh, how we adore the endless red carpet galore. Hooray for Hollywood, where less is always more.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to a Radulich Broadcasting premiere podcast. Damn you. Oh my God, there's so much hand movement. Damn you, Hollywood. And here's your host. He's dancing at the Pink Pony Club on the west side, and he's just having fun, ladies and gentlemen. Dancing at the Pink Pony Club, Robert Winfrey. How do you do, sir?
All right. That's what we're going to be doing tonight, I guess.
Yes, sir. Listen, I managed to edit myself and not do the entire song to introduce you, just that part. This is my example of restraint.
I'm aware of that. Hey, everybody. This is Damn You Hollywood. Tonight we're talking Superman, or at least these three lovely people will be talking Superman. I have learned that my opinions on these matters are not wanted or encouraged, so I'm here so I don't get fined. Joining us to fill in my space will be Alexis Hana. How you doing, Alexis?
Doing good. Coming to you guys from Oklahoma City, actually. Just had a business meeting down. It's fine.
I've been to Oklahoma. That's not an adjective I'd use.
Have you ever been to actually Oklahoma City or just
I have a better
Oklahoma?
question. You had a big announcement there. You went to Oklahoma to do some business, and that business was successful. Yes.
Yes, it is. My company is going to officially have products sold at a shop here called Game HQ.
Congratulations, Alexis. We're so proud of you.
Thank you.
Not to be outdone, ladies and gentlemen, the protocol son, the prodigal son, the prodigal son, the prototype son has returned.
Give it up. Just give it up.
The proctoral son has returned. Artist extraordinaire. Ladies and gentlemen, he's Benjamin J. Cologne on all the things. How do you do, sir?
Very good. I was waiting to see if you were going to get to proctological son, but it never happened.
I want to be done with this relatively quickly, so no. But
Thank you.
Next time you're on and I'm feeling even sillier and we have more time, I will just have a thesaurus out in front of me.
Nice.
So.
Considering how few of those words are actually like references to each other, you got phonetically close. You did not get definitionally close.
I was going for extreme alliteration. Speaking of extremely illiterate, listen, Ben, it's been a while.
Amazingly alliterative, you mean?
You've been on the show. How you been?
I'm trying not to melt in this sweltering humidity right now. But
are you still in New York or are you in Florida?
No,
I'm in Carmen, San Diego.
Oh no, I'm still in New York, but it's not too much. It's not too much better here than it is down south right now. So, and there's a flood warning going on over here. So,
Jesus Christ, there's a flood warning going on over here too. Where are we? Fucking Noah's Ark? What's happening around here?
Yeah, pretty much. I may have to grab like an inner tube at some point.
Well, welcome to Waterworld, everybody. Earth in 2025.
Yeah.
Speaking of Earth 2025, what are we talking about, Robert?
I already said we're talking about Superman.
That's true. Hey, Ben, back to you. So you don't ask me for much, which is why I like you. But you did reach out to me, and you were like, hey, when are you guys talking Superman? And I feel like that's out of character for you. I'm saying it so you'll correct me, just so you understand. But I feel like that's out of character for you because you're the Spider-Man guy. That's how I know you. You're a Spider-Man guy. What are you doing on a Superman show? Explain yourself.
I think the word you could have used is I came a lot closer to begging you to be on this episode. Yeah, I am a Spider-Man guy, but I'm a comic book guy in general, and I actually really, really love Superman. Superman is he's like in the top 4. Sometimes he's number 3, sometimes he's number 4, depending on my mood. But as we're probably going to get into, I think Superman is kind of the hero for our particular time and our particular place, and so is this movie. That's a little preview of my thoughts.
I wanted hopeful Superman back. That's been kind of my thing for the last few months. Is I miss hopeful Superman. Not that I disliked Henry Cavill, but I wanted shades of Christopher Reeve to come back into my Superman movie, and so I was excited for this one. I was crossing my fingers that James Gunn was going to mess it up. Just out of curiosity, where did this one? And don't get into your craft review or anything like that. We're not there yet, but I am curious of the 7 or 8 Superman movies that have come out and made the motion picture. What does this one rank for you?
It's pretty high up there. I think it's one of the one. It's come close to.
It's number 2 behind Superman 3, right?
Yeah, clearly.
Just can't. I was going to say, obviously, you just can't deny the hypnotic charm of Richard Pryor.
I am both a Richard Pryor fan and a leading Tower of Pisa fan, so it's got a soft spot. I got a soft spot for Superman 3. No, it's up there. It's up there with the best of the Christopher Reeve movies. It's up there with a lot of my favorite comic book stories, which we'll probably also get into, and a lot of my favorite animated movies. Because I think where we were missing hopeful Superman, kind of the animated movies were kind of the last place to find him outside of the comics for up until now.
I have an appreciation for various shades of Superman. I actually liked the Injustice Superman, but for different reasons than I liked Hopeful Superman. So, just really, really, really quickly, Alexis, what's your favorite Superman story and your favorite Superman movie? Where did this one rank for you?
As far as media, my favorite Superman is going to be the Bruce Timm Paul Dini version. That is the animated series that was made after the success of Batman, the animated series. In my opinion, the Timmiverse has been the quintessential adaptation so far of the DC comic books. I absolutely love what they did with Superman. I loved they had Tim Daly voicing him. We had Clancy Brown as Lex Luthor. He is always going to be one of my favorite Luthors. Mm-hmm. As far as my favorite stories, like the individual comics, I always gravitate toward the Elseworld stories of Superman. One of the first comic books I ever bought was Superman Red Sun, which I just fell in love with. I believe we did a comic strip talking about that ages ago.
We did. I don't know if it was a comic strip, but we definitely talked about the animated movie, and I know the book's been covered on source material.
Yeah, but again, I was really hopeful for this. Obviously, it's been on record on this show just how big of a fan of James Gunn I am, how much I love his work. When I found out he was taking over DC, I was so excited. I couldn't wait to see what he was going to bring to the table. So I'm with Ben on this one. I would say this is probably, okay, I don't think you can say which one's better, Superman 1 or Superman 2. I think they have to share.
They're kind of one movie.
Yeah, I think they have to share a space. So I'm going to say that obviously those two that's going to be the best. This will definitely be number 2 right underneath.
Okay. Robert, which did you hate more, this or Superman 4?
Ow.
I'm not going to dignify that.
What's your favorite Superman comic, Robert? I'm curious.
I don't have one.
You don't have one? Was he just not the character you enjoyed reading about, or?
I haven't. My comic knowledge is osmotic, not firsthand.
Mm-hmm.
I've not read almost any Western comics.
In other words, you got it all from Simpsons references.
Simpsons references my friends who are big into this stuff or other research I've done ahead of projects.
So we have a comment here from YouTube, which thank you for people sending in comments who are watching. Juliana Howell, the Superman movie reminded me of the 40s cartoon where Superman was the epitome of goodness and righteousness. It's up there. So my favorite Superman book of all time is actually Emperor Joker. It's one of those
it is.
For a variety of reasons, some of which I've talked about with Jesse, but I like when the Joker messes with Superman because he's just fed up with dealing with Batman, and Superman is such a dolt that the Joker has way more fun with him because Batman is boring. And Emperor Joker it's kind of like if Chuck Jones decided to write a Superman story. It would be this, only the Joker is played by Bugs Bunny and Superman is Elmer Fudd. It's that kind of story. I absolutely adore Emperor Joker. So,
if you like the Joker messing with Superman, you should check out the mini movie World's Finest. That was like the official bridge between the Batman animated series and the Superman animated series. It literally has Joker finding a statue made of kryptonite and saying, you know what? I'm tired of trying to kill Batman. I'm going to go see if I can convince Luthor to pay me to go kill Superman.
What are you going to say, Ben?
I wasn't if you were asking me what my favorite Superman story is, I can tell you that.
Be my guest. Take it away.
Yeah, I have two. One is For the Man Who Has Everything, which was
I love that one.
That's pretty much the best one.
Which they also adapted into an episode of the animated series, which is one of the this is a story written by Alan Moore and drawn by Dave Gibbons, and it is one of the only adaptations of Alan Moore's work that he's still willing to give any kind of praise to.
It's the only one that has his name on it.
Yeah,
he still has his name. Yeah.
Yeah, he's taken his name off of what? Watchmen, V for Vendetta. Oh my God,
Extraordinary Gentleman.
Yeah,
fair,
everyone needs
wanted
their name off of
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen was the one that made him decide to never put his name on anything ever again.
Yeah,
I love Alan Moore. I wish you were my uncle.
Yeah.
We have Ronnie in here. Says, I'll agree with the 40s Superman reference. I like the Snyder Superman to a point, but the new movie has an old school feel, more like a comic book. Last thing I want to say before we get into the plot synopsis and move this on. My other favorite Superman story, and I think the quintessential Superman story, I really think the one that is the basis for the best movies, the best interpretation of Superman, really the one that gets his character the most accurate, Superman versus Muhammad Ali. Just outstanding. Just the best.
I got my copy.
Also covered here on source material. And enough with my Paula nonsense.
Yeah, you and Jason talked about it some February a couple of years back, right?
No, that was me and Jesse.
That story's better. The story's better than it has any right to be.
My local comic book shop is selling a facsimile comic of that, but it's like an oversized print. It's
that's like the only thing
size.
I was gonna say it's the only thing that's left is the giant poster size one. All right, Robert, get into the 3-minute or less plot synopsis.
All right, so we're introduced to this world, and Superman's a part of it. We're dropped kind of into the middle of things. We get a little bit of text on screen explaining that metahumans appeared about 3,000 years ago, and Superman showed up, and he was raised in Kansas, and he's the strongest, and then he loses a fight. And he crash lands in Antarctica. And he then whistles for Crypto, the Wonder Dog, who has been Nepo canined into a copy of James Gunn's dog, and I will die on that hill. The dog nepotism here is just not. He's not a long-haired dog. He's not supposed to be, but James Gunn likes his dog, so we got James Gunn's dog. Anyway, Crypto shows up and drags him back to the Fortress of Solitude, and thank heavens it's not one of the 6 months out of the year when Antarctica has no sun, because he needs it to heal. Anyway, Superman gets healed up, but he kind of got his butt kicked by the hammer of Sokovia, Latveria, Barovia? Whatever.
Israel. Just fucking say Israel at this point. Bold choice, by the way, to have Netanyahu played by fucking Nosferatu. I thought. Brilliant casting, I thought.
You said it, not me.
We can move on now.
So he heals up, he goes back. He still can't quite beat this thing. And it turns out that this is not the hammer of Barovia. This is Ultraman, which immediately tells you everything you need to know about the character if you know anything about comic characters. We're sort of introduced to the wider world. Clark Kent, as Superman, gives an interview to his girlfriend, Lois Lane, who knows he's Superman, so we bypass all that drama. It doesn't go well. Lex Luthor has set up Superman to start taking falls, mostly so he could find the Fortress of Solitude, which he locates. Then he breaks into it, finds a message from Superman's parents, because Bradley Cooper must always play a douchebag. He's our Jor-El this time around. Spoiler for what comes later. And he breaks in there. He destroys all the super robots. We cut the scene of Ultraman punching the dog, which is a bizarre choice. Let the dog be punched. It's a fake dog. No one cares. The engineer then breaks into Superman's computer, finds the message, finds the rest of it that was damaged during transmission. It gets decoded, and it's broadcast out to the world that Superman was sent here by the last Kryptonians to rule with an iron fist and to take as many wives as possible and spread the superior genetic seed of the Kryptonians, and I wish I was joking. And despite years of valiant service to the community and world, this is enough to get a bunch of people who just watched him save them from a kaiju to start throwing things at him.
Most believable part of the movie.
Least believable part of the movie, including the kaiju. Anyway, Superman turns himself in, and Lex Luthor's like, you guys can't hold Superman. I can hold Superman. And the government goes, what could possibly go wrong? Well, things go wrong very quickly. But Superman is handed over to Lex Luthor. He is carted off to a pocket dimension. Don't ask about it. Where Lex Luthor reveals his 1,000 monkeys at 1,000 keyboards, writing it was the best of times, it was the blurst of times.
I swear to God, the minute I saw them, like, if I don't get that reference out of you, Robert, I'm going to be so disappointed.
The only thing I'm going to contribute to this discussion all night.
Superman
has been locked away with a guy with a metamorpho who can turn his body into any substance. He turns it into kryptonite, and he keeps Superman contained because right across the prison hallway is a mean-looking man holding his son hostage, going, if you don't do the thing, I'm going to hurt your kid. We are also, throughout the course of a little bit of this, introduced to the Justice Gang. We have Guy Gardner, the worst Green Lantern. We have Mr. Terrific, and someone pretending to be Hawkgirl. Or at least a cardboard cutout version of Hawkgirl. I actually like Hawkgirl. She's a cool character, and what we got here was disappointing. Anyway. The Justice Gang is now trying to keep things safe now that Superman's been locked away. We're at a bit of an impasse here until Jimmy Olsen reveals that he has the metahuman ability of attracting every female in the tri-state area. And his ex, who is now Tessmacher for Lex Luthor, just blithely sends him every bit of plot-relevant information that they need. So they find out there's a pocket dimension, and Mr. Terrific goes, oh, you really shouldn't do that.
One sec. Eve Tessmacher, the most believable character, most true to life character in this entire movie. I know too many women that are just like her. I was laughing and crying all at the same time in every scene she was in. Keep going.
So Mr. Terrific and Lois Lane go to bust Superman out. At a minimum, Mr. Terrific's like, okay, if he created pocket dimensions, then I have to make sure that bad things aren't going to happen. Like black holes. So they go there. They go to one of these locations because they have portal technology to access this. Around this time, Jimmy does figure out that, Luthor has made a deal with Barovia to take half of this country that he was trying to annex, and that Superman's been stopping him from doing so because Superman doesn't like war. And that's sort of what's going on with that. It's an extraneous plot that should have been shed in editing, but here we are. So Mr. Terrific and Lois Lane break into the pocket dimension. Around the same time, well, a little bit after, between this all, Lex Luthor, the world's biggest dumbass, decides that his method of interrogation for Superman will not involve kryptonite. It will involve him pointing a gun and playing Russian roulette with a random civilian. Which then goes off on his second question. He's left with his dick in his hand going, wow, I didn't think this through, did I? I'm just going to go over here now. And, yeah, plot can happen. So he leaves. Plot happens. Morpho's like, I can't believe he shot that guy. Really? But this is enough to get Morpho to remove the kryptonite. But now Superman doesn't have a sun because this pocket universe that's a replica of the Big Bang doesn't have a yellow sun close enough to him for him to regain power. So Morpho then creates a small supernova. Superman then escapes, and in a sequence that winds up being reminiscent of the Adam Sandler classic Pixels, he falls into an anti-proton stream towards a black hole while holding an infant aloft. There's a big escape sequence. They do escape. Superman goes to Kansas with Lois to rest up because we need a farm sequence. Mr. Terrific tries to figure out what's been going on with Lex Luthor's stuff. The Daily Planet reporters, including Bunk, decided that start writing up their story about what they figured out about Luthor. Barovia invades again. This time it's Guy Gardner and Hawkgirl who show up, and they care a lot less about niceties, so Hawkgirl just murders a head of state. Meanwhile, Lex Luthor opens the portal to the pocket dimension, and it's unstable, so it tears holes in the fabric of reality, a nice big zipper through the middle of Metropolis. Superman goes to stop that. He winds up fighting with the Engineer and Ultraman and defeats the Engineer by just going into low Earth orbit and dropping her from it, but she's much like Black Widow, she mostly survives. Ultraman is then revealed to be a stupid clone of Superman, so they fight. Krypto shows up and he makes things easier for Superman. Superman throws his evil clone into a black hole. He confronts Luthor. Mr. Terrific closes the big hole, and like a zipper, it closes up rather nicely. Not that far off, though, if you watch the post-credits scene. Luthor is arrested for consorting with a foreign government. Superman goes back to the Fortress of Solitude, where his drunk loser cousin shows up to finally collect her dumbass dog. And the Justice Gang now is a bit more involved in international politics. We see Maxwell Lord very briefly because James Gunn must cast his brother. Not even mad at it. I like his brother. He's a good actor. And Superman comes to the conclusion that no matter what his terrible biological parents wanted him to become, he will not be that. He will be punk rock. Because in the cynical age, optimism is the most counterculture thing you can do. Please watch our 3 TV show spin-offs and 4 sequels.
All right. Take yourself off mute, Ben, because I want to talk to you.
That is the sum total of my contribution to this episode. I will be reading.
Thanks, Robert.
Thanks,
You're
Robert.
welcome.
Everyone, thank you, Robert, kids. Thanks, Robert.
What are you
Yeah.
reading?
No, shut up. Ben, what did you... A book.
It's
I'm
thick.
sorry. That's why I saw how thick that thing was. Okay, it's either Stephen King or the dictionary.
It's Stephen King.
It's neither of those.
Who gives a fuck? Ben, what did you think of this movie?
I loved it. Despite in some cases, even because of some of the things that Robert just elucidated. I love pretty much, I have like very minor complaints here and there, but for the vast majority of it, I like, everything about it. I also, what I said to a couple of people was, this is almost more than it is a Superman. And this is a quintessential Superman movie, but it's almost more a quintessential James Gunn movie. Mm-hmm. So if you do not like James Gunn's movies, and especially if you don't like the stuff that he's done with superheroes so far, you ain't gonna like this movie. If you do, you're gonna like it a lot. If you like Superman, you're gonna like it a lot. If you like, general optimism, that's gonna help. And I like all of those things, and they all kind of came together. I had high hopes for this movie, and it met them, if not exceeded all of them.
What didn't you like about it? What were some of your quibbles?
A couple of the characters didn't get as much fleshing out as they probably should have for what they contributed to the story overall. There were a couple of things that there were a couple of characters here and there that seemed off. I mean, we're gonna probably talk about the sort of plot twist with Jor-El, and that didn't sit right with me, but with a small little asterisk at the end, which is going to be the asterisk I'm going to put on a lot of things that I had problems with in this movie, which is that a sequel may rectify a lot of them, but even discounting that entirely, if I knew that there was never going to be a sequel made of this movie that may expand on a lot of the stuff that got set up in it, I can live with what was the story that was told, even with some things that I wouldn't have done myself or that I wouldn't have had been done.
I want to ask you a couple of questions, Ben, regarding the Superman's parents thing, because I know that's a bone of contention for some people. It is my understanding there are some interpretations of Kryptonian lore, and I say that knowing this is all fiction, but that's kind of the point. There are some writers who took liberties with the make-believe Kryptonian lore that made them out to be so pro-science, such to the point that they were like quasi-imperialists. In other words, the idea, if you listen to the message that's said in the movie, it's because we are advanced, because you will be so advanced, you should lord over these people. And I feel like that is consistent with some interpretations of what's been written about Superman's history, Kryptonian history. Any clue what I'm talking about? You want to weigh in on that?
Yeah. Off the top of my head, that's what right after the story that I mentioned for the Man Who Has Everything. DC did Crisis on Infinite Earths and kind of rebooted and rearranged the continuity of a lot of characters, including Superman. And John Byrne, who's of Superman and Fantastic Four fame, came along in the mid 80s and kind of reimagined Superman, and reimagined Krypton and reimagined his parents as sort of this cold science centric race of sterile people that and the funny thing, say I don't want to start talking too much about Zack Snyder just yet, but that is one thing that he got mostly right in Man of Steel, which is he kind of based Krypton on John Byrne's version of Krypton, where they're all sort of kind of cold, emotionless, and not very into sort of love and familial,
very Vulcan.
Yeah.
Short way of saying it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. They seem to have decided that Superman will have a shared heritage with the Vulcans of Star Trek.
Well, to the point that it's a big deal that Superman was the first natural-born child in Snyder's Krypton. All of the other children are conceived through genetic engineering, essentially.
Which is also not. People think that's a Zack Snyder conceit. It's not. That also is out of some of the comics.
Oh yeah, no, that's that. But I mean that I think he took some inspiration for that. He put a twist or two of his own into that. But that seems to be where that comes from. I think in general, what James Gunn was trying to do, and you probably hear me talk about this more. What I said, and I got it in my notes in big bold letters, is this movie as a whole is in a lot of ways James Gunn's kind of meditation on being human, for better and for worse. And the deal with Superman's parents, I think they leave it. I mean, they try to make it as unambiguous as possible. They go out of their way to say the message has been authenticated, and multiple hundreds of linguists all over the world have confirmed that its authenticity, and it wasn't messed with, and it wasn't doctored, and it wasn't this, and it wasn't that. In case there was any question about that, that this is the actual message, I still think it could be something else, but I guess we'll get to that in a minute. But I think the movie kind of settled on at the very end, just kind of settled on the fact that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they wanted. The whole idea, the whole thing they keep coming back to in the movies, it doesn't matter what his parents wanted. He's free to make his own choices and his based on his own experiences. And I was thinking, the movie, if it takes a stance at all, it's that, we are more than our lineage. We're more than our biological parentage. And it kind of takes a step even further and says that we can also be more than our upbringing.
Sure. So that was a very nice message of the movie.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to give you a break, and I'm going to go over to Alexis. Alexis, just give me some of your thoughts, because we might have a little bit more of an interwoven discussion here, but I want to give you a chance to get some of your big thoughts about this movie out there. Let me guess, though. You loved it.
Of course I did.
Of course you did. You are. I wish I could bet on you. I would win every time. Go ahead.
Well, one of the things, actually, continuing what Ben's talking about, I kept thinking more and more about this whole idea of the message, and I suddenly remembered one of the lines from the Christopher Reeve Superman, the message from Marlon Brando. They can be a great people, Kal-El. They just lack the way. And that could just as easily be interpreted as they lack the way, they lack leadership.
I feel like didn't Brando specifically say don't let them lean on you too much? They'll become too dependent on you. I believe, I think, and where I think Ben was going, I think that's the missing part of that message that we never get to. But that was, Brando also said the same thing. They're the kind of dumb monkeys on that planet, but don't go crazy. They'll become too dependent on you. And I might actually be also thinking of Russell Crowe's thing with Superman from Man of Steel. But go ahead, keep going.
I'm just saying that there have been multiple writers who have done multiple takes on Jor-El's and Laura's message to their son.
Right.
And I think it is very easy to interpret some of that as in, it's like you can lead the way, you can show them a better way. I think it is very easy to interpret that in one way or another as you can rule over them.
Yes.
So
one interpretation is be an inspiration, one interpretation is be the king.
Exactly. And it leads really nicely to the message, the core message, which is you are not who you are. Superman is not Superman because of his Kryptonian heritage. He is Superman because he is human, because he tries to do good. He has been raised by his Kansas parents to always see the good in the world and to try hard to help and to always, be the shoulder to cry on and to try his best to make the world a better place. The Superman motto in this movie has changed from truth, justice, and the American way to truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. And I think that is something that we do need to strive for. We need to strive for a better tomorrow, not just for one person, not just for one group, but for all of us, for all of society. And I really think that was an important part, especially the end when he's kind of getting his little relaxation time and they say, would you like us to play the video of your parents? It relaxes him so, but it's no longer the video of Jor-El and Laura. It's home video of him with his parents. And I squeed. That was so sweet. And I loved that.
Yeah, it was a really nice moment. This in from Ronnie, who's kind of doing at-home production for us. It is forbidden for you to interfere with human history. Rather, let your leadership stir others too. And that's Brandon's Jor-El.
Okay.
What else? Sticking with the craft stuff, Alexis, if you don't mind. What else did you like about this movie?
Okay, I think all the casting choices was on point. David Corenswet was perfect as both Superman and Clark Kent. This is a guy.
Who are you more in love with, Corenswet or Nathan Fillion? Because I know, he also does it for you.
I'll get back to you on that one. But no, I first saw Corenswet when we reviewed the X trilogy. He was in Pearl. He played the projectionist. Yep. And I remember watching, going, okay, I think this guy's going to be a good Superman. And I was absolutely right. Rachel Brosnahan, I don't watch The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Just haven't had I have too many other shows to watch. But I thought she was great as Lois Lane. Nicholas Hoult, I think, was one of the best Luthors I have seen in a long,
Okay, let me cut in there because I was kind of waiting for my opportunity to bring this up. I know this is going to be a controversial opinion, but I actually think he's the best Lex Luthor yet. I really
He's not
do.
better than Kevin Spacey. Go get bent.
Thank you for your non-contribution contribution. Anyway, I, Mark Radulich, Esquire the Third, think that this is the best Lex Luthor yet. I honestly think he's better than Gene Hackman. I think he's better than Kevin Spacey. I think this is the closest to the consensus modern comic book interpretation of Lex Luthor that I've seen. The thing that makes Lex Luthor to me is kind of, Marvin the paranoid android from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Like, I have the brain the size of a planet, and yet everyone gives, the quarterback from another planet all of this attention, and I can't stand it. Like, doesn't, and again, Lex Luthor, closer to Batman than not. Both of them, like, does not anyone see the problem with the immortal alien god, that everyone's fawning over? This feels like it's going in a bad direction. Only Batman's like, I will trust but verify, taking from the, Saint Reagan. And then you have Lex Luthor go like, well, just kill him. That would be better. I think that, I think no news is good news. Let's just get rid of the guy. And that's kind of the Lex Luthor they're going for with Nicholas Hoult, which I really, really like. I also think this is the first time I haven't seen Lex Luthor played really cartoony. Like, I feel like he felt very modern, but he had all, I think, the best villain traits of Lex Luthor. So I thought it struck a nice balance. Back to you, Alexis.
Well, and Ben, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about here. We've had two different versions of Luthor in film, pre and post-Crisis. Pre-Crisis Luthor, okay, so the Crisis on Infinite Earths storyline, that was the giant one of the first giant retcons of DC. They love their retcons. Before that, Luthor was very much the Gene Hackman, Kevin Spacey Luthor. I'm the greatest criminal mind. I am a genius. I am evil.
He's a mad scientist.
Exactly. Post-Crisis Luthor is the businessman. He is the one who... there's a great line in the Superman animated series in the first the first 3 episodes, when Superman and Luthor first meet, and Luthor says to him, I own half of Metropolis. 2/3 of the people in this city work for me, even if they don't know it. And that has always been the Luthor that I personally liked. The evil Luthor, but the Luthor who knows how to conduct himself. He is a businessman, and he is not stupid enough to, just suddenly go screaming, I'm evil, I'm evil. He knows how to manipulate stuff. And I'm calling it right now that in the sequel, or in whatever the plan is with the next DC movies, we're going to find out he's got the most brilliant lawyers in the world, and he's going to get those charges weighed or dropped or something.
By far.
Yeah.
Let me jump in here. Because everyone always wants to know, like, Mark, just tell us, did you like the movie before you start complaining? Because this is Damn You Hollywood after all. Just, did you like the movie? And the answer is, I loved it. Outside of Superman 3, this is my favorite Superman movie yet. I really did. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm on the record as saying I love Superman 1 and 2. The 2 of my favorite movies of all time. If you take them as one movie, they're one of my favorites. Right up there with Lord of the Rings. But because I watch so many of these, I do so much podcasting, I have to, do a lot of interpretation and analysis of this stuff. It's getting harder and harder, I'm finding, to really, like, get me to feel something when I watch these things. See our Jurassic Park review from last week. This one, I had a smile from ear to ear, and it's so funny. I always know how I'm feeling about a film by whether or not, like, how I start with the movie versus how I end. And I went into the movie, and I was, for some odd reason, despite having slept the night before, I was really tired. Like, my eyes were starting to go during the trailers, and I kind of adjusted in my seat, and I sat forward. And from the time the movie starts till it ends, I was on the edge of my seat. Like I never relaxed back into it. A lot of people are complaining about like this feels like this is one of the things a drinker I think mentioned. It feels like you're dropped into the second part of a trilogy, and I understand his criticism, but I think it works given the narrative. Two, it immediately got my attention, and I never let go. Like there are certain movies where I'm just kind of waiting for the movie to get going. This one, it got going immediately, and it never stopped. So I love the pacing of the movie. I like this interpretation of Superman as fallible, human, just trying to figure. It's kind of a Superman or Batman year one thing where I don't really know how to be a superhero just yet. I'm still figuring this out, and I make a lot of mistakes. Ben, were you deep breathing, or did you want to jump in?
Was I deep breathing? Sorry.
Somebody took a deep breath, and I thought you were trying to cut in, and I just talked over you. So I'll just keep going. So I liked the interpretation of I'm just a guy from Kansas. I'm trying to figure things out. I also like his naive. Again, he's not Batman. He's naive. He's somebody who is got middle American values, and that's. I mean, I'll always remember my son before we went to a Weezer show going, "Why don't we just give everybody homes and money and food, and that solves homelessness?" That's 7-year-old naivete. That's 7-year-old geopolitics. And Superman, in some interpretations, has that kind of naivete. This one kind of has that naivete. Like, I'm going to go stop a war because war should be stopped without thinking about the implications of it. And I like the fact that the movie actually dealt with that. It says, like, when you do these things, there are unintended consequences, and it's dealt with in the movie. So all of that stuff worked for me. Lois and him have really great chemistry on screen. Lois, I actually think, is probably... I as much as I have sympathy and my heart goes to Margot Kidder and her interpretation of Lois Lane. This is the most competent Lois Lane I've seen yet. This is the smartest, most competent, most equal to Superman without having to surpass him or undercut him. Like, this is the way you should write female characters. I think she was extremely well done, and their conversation when she's interviewing him was. Like, if you isolated that out of the rest of the movie, that was a great one-act play. Like, that whole conversation has so much rhythm. To it. It had a beginning, a middle, and an end. It wasn't just waxing philosophical. They were going somewhere with that conversation. So I like that part of it. Talked about Nicholas Hoult, how much I liked him. Everything with Jimmy and Eve gave me PTSD. Like, I know I have been Jimmy, and I know that girl, and I didn't like any of it, and I loved it all.
It's worth pointing out in the comics, Jimmy's kind of a pimp. He's got a lot of.
I'm sorry, did you just have a stroke? What the fuck did you just say?
Pimp. He's a pimp.
She's saying two different words, right, Ben? That was two different words. All right, moving on. Yes, he's a ladies' man.
He's a ladies' man.
Yeah.
Shocked they didn't cast Adam Devine. They have the same energy.
I was thinking.
Hi, Robert.
I was thinking of the actual ladies' man from SNL, and I can't remember the actor's Tim Meadows.
Tim Meadows. Yeah.
Tim Meadows is Jimmy Olsen. Granted, he's like 90, but still. The fact that Jimmy Olsen can get babes is not what I laughed at. The fact that he attracted this personality disordered lady. And she, God, again, everything that came out of her mouth, the way that she, the constant texting and everything, I'm like, I feel like James Gunn or whoever wrote that for her has had some personal experiences and has done a lot of therapy. It was brilliant, and it was brilliant, and the scariest thing I've seen in a movie this year. Just horrifying. The look on Jimmy at the end where they're together and he knows his life is over. It was like brilliant, perfect. Cut. Like, I don't need anything more. Go ahead, Alexis. You sound like you're about to say something.
I did really get a kick out of the Justice Gang. When I found out Nathan Fillion was going to be playing Guy Gardner, I thought that was just. I have this great image in my head of James Gunn, because Nathan Fillion has been in almost every single one of Gunn's films, and I just feel it's like, okay, so I want you to be a Green Lantern. Now, Fillion has actually voiced Hal Jordan in several animated DC projects. In fact, for the longest time, people were clamoring for him to play Hal Jordan before he got too old for the role, unfortunately.
I think he does a great job with Guy Gardner because Guy Gardner has to be a short-sighted asshole.
Exactly. And
it was
yeah.
it was a nice play off of Superman, you know. And as far as like we have the corporate good guys, and they are being corporate good guys, but they're not being bad guys; they're just being corporate good guys. And he played that. That was a pitch perfect play for Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner because the character works in that role, and the actor worked as that character.
Loved also Mr. Terrific. The actor playing him played Darwin in X-Men First Class.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that he's getting this opportunity now to play a superhero since he got royally screwed on that role.
You know, the word representation gets thrown around a lot these days. And like, we want to see more, you know, superheroes of various ethnicities, races, you know, all, you know, genders, etc. And, you know, the conflict is always, well, we'll race swap somebody and then aggravate the entire comic book reading audience. It's like, well, don't do that. Put guys like more guys like Mr. Terrific up there. He was great. Did everything he was supposed to do. He was the tech hero. He was, you know, it was representation. It was all of those things. It was played by a good actor. So that's more or less all, you know, all the good stuff. I'm going to say something controversial, Ben, and I want to get your opinion on this. Okay, I want you, as strong as you are a debater, as you know, as much as you have been my match over the years, 1-to-1, as much as you have pushed back against me. I want you to fill that role for me today.
Okay.
It's not that I don't like dogs. It's that I don't like the same gag over and over and over again. And furthermore, every time they needed to keep Superman vulnerable, but they knew they needed an action beat, they cheated and gave it to Crypto. And this was... Don't tell Alexis I said this, because I love her dearly. But you know how Alexis will take time out of a podcast to go deal with her dog as if it's the most important thing ever, and it takes about an hour out of the podcast to deal with that dog?
Robert, she can hear you.
I'm Mark. Like, I get that you're doing a bit, but call me by my name, sir. In any case, it was like... They wrote this stuff for Crypto and thought it was the funniest. I hate this in film and I hate this in television. They thought it was the funniest fucking thing ever. And so they wouldn't stop doing this. Is a baby that had to be killed early on in this movie, and they refused. And because everyone loves a good marketing opportunity, like a baby dinosaur or a Yoda or a cute puppy, you can get away with it because people like dogs. Except me. But most people, normal people, like dogs. But I feel like, so as to not make Superman less vulnerable than they wanted, but give the people what they wanted, they kept giving everything to Crypto, and it annoyed the piss out of me. Your reaction to my controversial statement, sir, on dogs, the universe, and everything.
Everything that guy just said is bullshit.
That's what I bring you on for, Ben.
Thank you, Ben.
Tactic.
No, it's a tactic that works.
This man's a communist and a homosexual. Believe nothing he says.
I don't disagree with you that they might have gone to the well with Crypto, you know, saving the day a couple of times too many. But I mean, I liked it. I enjoyed it. I
laughed hard when he said, "Crypto, get the toy."
Get the toy.
Get the toy.
And he
Here's the thing.
Knocking out the drone. And I feel like that would have been stronger had he not done 87 other things with the dog that went way too long.
Yeah, I think they kind of copped to the fact that, like, you know, they did they were playing on the cuteness factor on purpose, and like, you know, Crypto is everybody's dog if you've had a dog before, particularly if you've had a puppy before. There's the movie does a lot to try to make it, you know, be as relatable as possible in some surprising ways. So they did that. I think they used Crypto a lot for that, especially early on. Because I mean, you know, if you do, you know, everybody who has a soul, you know, like, you know, loves their pets, and if you don't, then I'm not sure if I want to know you.
It was definitely very purposeful, and I think a little cynical, and that's another problem I had with it. Go ahead, Alexis.
Well, there is a little. Okay. Maybe crypto does show up a little bit too much in the movie, but I also know where Gunn was coming from with this. Because yes, crypto is literally modeled like they scanned his dog Ozu, named after the Japanese filmmaker. And Ozu was a rescue from an overcrowded situation, and this dog was just the most antisocial little shit on the planet. I don't know if you guys have ever. I know we've all have pets. I don't know if you've ever rescued a dog from a shelter that dog was in a really bad situation before, and it takes a while for them to realize not all humans are evil. My parents actually rescued a Westie from a breeder. Well, someone else rescued him from a breeder. My parents adopted him, and this dog took forever to warm up to humans. He would snap at us. He bit us repeatedly.
Okay,
and Ozu was like that. Apparently, he ate one of Gunn's laptops. So he channeled a lot of that in with crypto because that's what he was going through with his dog.
Yes, and like we said about Lena Wachowski, you have to temper some of your impulses. This is not a vanity project. The crypto stuff, as cute as it was, and I laughed as a film critic, I'm like, this is a little too much. The other thing I'm going to tell you is my major problem with this movie, the thing that I think weakens it, and this is one of those, like, if you've ever seen like a Christmas tree with a very skinny trunk, but it's got so much brush and so many ornaments, you don't know how thin this damn thing is and how far it's going to knock over if a strong wind hits it. This has got the barest of plots, paper thin. This is full up with thematic discussion and character study and aesthetic and vision and color, and it is low on plot. There are things happening in this movie at a breakneck speed. I am not the only one that said that. I agree with the Drinker and Echo Chamberlain and all these guys that are kind of saying the same similar things of this movie goes at such a rapid pace and there's so much happening on screen. You don't notice this movie isn't really in terms of strict narrative, it isn't really about anything. It's about a lot thematically. There isn't much of a plot here. Stuff happens to Superman and he kind of gets over the various hurdles being thrown at him.
Might as well have been written by Alex Garland. There's so much theme over substance.
Oh, for
Thank you,
God's
Robert.
sake.
Hi, Robert.
That's a valid thing, and every once in a while, if he doesn't look up, but if he just verbalizes, if he agrees with me, it's okay. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but Alex Garland, really?
Yes, we've reviewed quite a number of his movies. Did you want to say anything there, Ben?
Just the last thing about crypto. I figured it was kind of the John Wick factor. It was like, if you want to get on the side of a protagonist, you mess with his dog. This is how I sold John Wick to people that didn't even like those kind of movies, which is but they kill his dog.
Do you like dogs? Let me tell you about John
Wick. But it's also literally the cutest dog that ever lived. So there's that.
Yes.
Sure.
But it's all, after that, you tell them, oh, they kill his dog. Then they're like, oh yeah, every last one of them has to die. So
yeah,
you're totally on board with it. So,
well, I mean, how many times have we seen a horror movie and it's like, okay, I don't care how many people get slaughtered, but you hurt the dog.
So last couple of quick hits. Hawkgirl's a non-character. She's just a girl in a body with who does action stuff. There's nothing to her.
I agree with that one.
Ultraman is Lex Luthor's avatar. That's not a character. That's not Ultraman, by the way. That was Ultraman in name only.
Yeah, that character is so coming back as Bizarro. It's obvious.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. And
I called it, by the way.
And the engineer, again, nice actress and all, delivers her lines competently enough, but non-character. Again,
apparently she and the rest of the Authority are going to be the next DC project.
Yeah, so Ronnie in with the hot take. Hawkgirl was hot. The end. Fair, accurate.
Hey, I just give credit to the actress for surviving Madam Web and going on to be in something a little more competent.
Absolutely. Despite its flaws, and you can say something, and let me be clear about this because I have to remind people periodically. Something can be imperfect. It can have flaws, and you can still love it. It appealed to me in all the ways things should appeal to people. It seems to appeal to you guys too. Robert, did you want to add anything of value? Before we go to the money?
We're at about an hour, and you wanted to get out of here in a reasonable time.
Alexis, you got any 50 words or less? And I do mean 50.
Guy Gardner making a wiffle bat out of willpower and hitting an interdimensional beast in the background is going to live rent-free in my head for the rest of my life.
I'll go you one better. Him doing Green Lantern middle fingers to the Israeli army, in protection of the Palestinians, if you're into that sort of thing. I laughed at. And look, I am as pro-Israel as the day is long. But fuck, as I said on TikTok, a funny scene is a funny scene. And him middle fingering tanks, Israeli tanks, was hilarious to me. I was a little insulted by the portrayal of the Jewish leader there, but I was like, I'm not going to sit here and have an ad hoc argument with James Gunn. He's entitled to what he believes, and he's the one that gets to make the movies, not me.
I thought that was more of a slam. I thought that was more of a slam at Putin.
No,
They were
Accent Putin, logistically and flag-wise and geographically, no.
You wanted to say something, Ben? And I'll give you the last words here, and I'm going to move on to the money.
little prediction. I mean, I got a lot of stuff that I'm probably not going to get to. I got one prediction, and I want to throw this out here right now for part 2. This is more of a hope. Like Gurkos, like the leader you're talking about, who's a bunch of dictators in a trench coat.
3 raccoons in a coat.
Yeah. That can be resolved or kind of improved if it turns out in part 2 that he was actually Mixospitalik.
Mitzoplex.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's
because
then they can get away from the obvious, pointing at the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
Yeah. Also, that is, I mean, if I was the Lord and Master of DC that James Gunn is right now, that is also, if I happen to want to explain away how everybody was sure that the message from Superman's parents was, conquer the world. That's how I would explain it in a part 2, that, it was reality was being altered.
I'm with you. I so want Mixospitalik to show up in a future DC film. Now, James Gunn would rule with that character.
That's the other thing. But also, the character, the dictator Gurkos in that movie, he was almost too cartoonish for me to for me to think that he wasn't Mixospitalik. That's what makes me think that. I don't know if
that's the way they're going. I wish they just done it in this movie. Like when Hawkgirl drops Netanyahu out of the sky, the camera kind of pans down and you see him you kind of see, you can't show him full splat, but you kind of see him there, and and then you're like boink, and it's Mr. Mixospitalik, and he's got the hat on, and he's getting crisscross applesauce, and he's like, well, fuck you then. And
I was positive they was gonna do something with that in post credits, but they didn't, and they may never. I may just be fantasy casting a sequel, but I think it'd be interesting.
I'll say Gunn made it clear he didn't want to do a tease for a future movie with the post credit sequence. He said he's tired of Marvel constantly apparently.
I have a thought, then don't do them.
Well, apparently, no, seriously, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, that tease with Adam Warlock, Marvel made him do that. He had no plans to put Adam Warlock in the movie.
All right.
Yeah, that's last thing, because like I said, I had a bunch of stuff that I'm not sure we're going to get to.
Do your quick hits while I leave a comment from Jesse on the screen. Robert, look up for 1 second.
Hi, Jesse.
We love you, Jesse.
Yeah. I'm back in the saddle. What I was gonna say, if there was one thing that I wanted to say from the ton of notes that I took, it's that a while ago, years and years ago, Craig Ferguson actually came up with the sort of the pithy, like, summary of Doctor Who, and it was something along the lines of, I hope I get this right, the triumph of wit and romance over brute force and cynicism, which can also apply to Superman. But I started thinking about, like, what's a good way to summarize Superman in that similar, like, succinct kind of way. So I started thinking about it, and what I started saying, like, ever since I saw the movie and started thinking about it a lot, was Superman embodies hope and kindness in an often and increasingly hopeless and unkind world. So that kind of happened upon that, because that's what I've always felt Superman is as a character, and this movie got that to an awfully high degree, which, like, made up for a lot of the things that it got wrong. And it's not a perfect movie. It did get some things wrong. It did, some things that I consider minor, some things that I consider major.
Can I press you on that? A lot of people are, because I want to get your opinion, and it's one of the things I wanted to say.
Sure.
I like vulnerable Superman. I like that Superman doesn't win all of his fights. I don't need to see Superman win and beat everything and have it, that was one of the things I didn't like about the Zack Snyder version, was the power creep on that got absurd to the point where it was overwhelming and unenjoyable. I like that Superman struggles throughout this movie.
That's post-crisis Superman, by the way. Mm-hmm. Like, that's something else that John Byrne did, was kind of knock his power level down a little bit to where he was still the most powerful being on planet Earth and probably outside of planet Earth. But he had vulnerabilities. I mean, he had the same vulnerability to kryptonite, but he also, like, needed to breathe air after a fashion. And, I think they look towards, like, post-crisis Superman as like kind of the sweet spot as far as how strong Superman needed to be. Mm-hmm. And I also think James Gunn might have done a little bit of side glancing at Invincible to kind of get a feeling for, like, a modern take on, like,
I'll say, I just loved all the Easter eggs that Gunn threw in there as well. I mean, for God's sakes, there was a jar of Superman brand peanut butter on Kent's desk at the Daily Planet.
Where were you going? What was the point you were trying to make, Ben?
No, it's just this, there were a lot of, I think they were trying to go for sort of a modern take on, like, an incredibly strong character who's still capable of getting his ass kicked. Mm-hmm. And I think they hit a good balance with that. He still, got to, be powerful and kick ass on his own when he needed to. Sometimes he needed help. Sometimes he didn't.
It was cathartic when it finally happened, because we'd been waiting for it the entire movie.
Yeah,
but he still got to do Superman stuff along the way, and there's the difference. Because I think you get nothing, and then you get something at the very end to where you waited for it for too long, or you get it the whole picture to where it's not meaningful when you have the big one at the end.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't want to do too many, back and forth comparisons with, like, Snyder's Superman. I don't, my quick and dirty take on that was Henry Cavill was a very good Superman in some very bad Superman movies.
That's been my view.
That's just how I feel about it. And I never thought that they got the character anywhere near where he needed to be. But, opinions will differ. Opinions have differed. And, what else? I had a thought of,
I bawled. There's one thing I wanted to mention. I'm glad, like, we took an extra minute here, because I had there were two times where it got me emotionally. I was telling my girlfriend about this. The scene with Pa Kent and Clark outside on the stoop, and he was just like, you are the sum of your decisions, and you're not and you should not be chained by your legacy, your history. And, this is the kind of things that he says are the kinds of things that I say to my kids, and I had to really stop from looking at them, or I'd have lost it completely in the theater. But I cried during that scene, and then I think when he's going off at the end was the other emotional part. He was just like, I fuck up. I make mistakes. That's what makes me human, Lex. I hope someday you'll see that.
Yep. Oh, quick, like, totally not serious question for Alexis, because she's a lot closer to Kansas than any of us. How are those Kansas accents working for you? Oh my
God, those were spot on.
Okay, all right.
No, I was gonna say, I know I live in Kansas City, but my mother's family, they're all farmers here in the Midwest, and Ma and Pa Ken sounded exactly like them. I even love the whole bit about it's like I shined your boots or I cleaned your boots. Like it's like I really hope that Ma Ken made his costume like in the comics. I always love that detail.
My favorite thing was like Ma Kent like trying to speak into the phone, like off center into the phone. Oh, that.
Did they not design Superman's costume to be like pro wrestling-ish, and that's why you have the trunks outside the pants? Because everyone's like, "Oh, he's wearing his underwear outside." I'm like, no, they designed him to look like wrestling gear. That's thought.
Kind of how superhero costumes were always intended to kind of resemble. Right. Like circus performer stuff.
Yeah,
if anything, it's a throwback to that. That's been around since literally day one in 19.
That would make more better sense.
Yeah, it's like it's not so much it's based off wrestling. It's that wrestling and Superman are based off the same source.
Yeah.
That's actually probably more historically accurate. All right. Last licks. Anybody else got anything of relevance and succinct to say? If not, we'll go on to the money.
Great job with the makeup on Metamorpho, by the way. That was all practical. That was incredible.
Oh, yeah. Good call. Very nice. All right. Well, then with that said, Ben, are you sticking around for the next two segments, or if you said your piece and now you have to go off to save other little boys?
No, I'm fine. I can stick around.
All right.
I'm sure I have other smart ass remarks to make.
All right, Robert, I'm going to ask that you re-engage with the podcast because, by God, here comes the money.
We're in the money. We're in the money.
All righty. On a budget of 225 million Marvel monies, this thing has made $220 million, which is not bad. Some would say it's pretty good. Some would say it's fair to middling. Some would say it should have done better. Really depends on what your definition of good is. As of July 13th, 2025, Superman has grossed $125 million in U.S. and Canada and $95 million in other territories for a worldwide total of the aforementioned 220. At the start of June 25, The Wrap reported that Superman needed to gross more than $500 million worldwide to become profitable at the box office, but it would need to earn around $700 million to be considered a success, which I think starting where it is now is probably doable, considering not since Barbie have I seen this much post-movie interaction, engagement on social media. The Hollywood Reporter estimated that the film could have a domestic opening weekend of around $175 million and a potential global total of over $1 billion based on the first full trailer's engagement metrics, while noting its production and marketing costs accounted for a total of around $400 million. 3 weeks ahead of the film's release, Superman was projected to earn $125 to $145 million, or approximately $135 million in its domestic opening weekend, which would be higher than the debut of Man of Steel at $116 million. DC Studios and Warner Brothers estimated a more conservative debut of $90 to $125 million, while the potential $175 million debut remained projected, which would surpass the debut of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Jar of Piss as the biggest opening for a DC film. In the week of release, Deadline Hollywood projected the film's domestic opening gross to be around $115 to $130 million. On July 10th, Deadline Hollywood reported the film had earned an estimated $2.8 million from Tuesday previews for a total of $21 million, including Thursday previews. This goes on and on and on, but I will cut it there. It was the number one movie of the weekend, knocking Jurassic World Afterbirth to
You are not sharing your screen.
Ballsack. How does that grab you? All right. Thank you, Robert. F1 dropped from 2 to 3. How to Train Your Dragon 3 to 4. 5 weeks out from its debut. Elio 4 weeks out from its debut, dropped from 4 to 5. 28 years later, 5 to 6. Lilo and Stitch 8 weeks out from its debut, still at number 7 for the second week in a row. Mission Impossible again for another week in a row at number 8. Megan 2.0 dropped from 6 to 9, and Materialist 9 to 10. Debuting this weekend are Abraham's Boys at number 14. Don't Let's Go to the Dogs Tonight at number 17, and That Was the Weekend That Was. Worldwide, not a tremendous amount of movement here. Superman debuted at number 12 on the list. Number 1 is still Nija. Lilo and Stitch is still at number 2 at $994 million. Robert, do you think
gonna cross the billion mark?
You think so? I think by the next weekend or so, it can make up the $6 million difference.
It's 5 and change, like 5.1.
So yes.
Yeah, probably.
I say it will.
M-
Although a lot of that comes down to Fantastic Four this coming weekend and how it does.
Well, this coming weekend is I Know What You Did Last Summer, which is why we're doing all the material on it this week.
Mhm.
Fantastic Four comes out in 2 weeks. Minecraft is still at number 3 at 955 million. Mission Impossible has made its way to number 4 at 584 million. How to Train Your Dragon is at number 5 at 561 million. Jurassic World Afterbirth, People Like Dinosaurs, is at 532. Captain America Brave New Turd is at 415 since February. F1, shooting up the ranks from wherever it was last weekend, is now number 8 on the list at 393 million. Thunderbolts, hanging by a thread at 382. And Sinners, currently in the top 10 at 365. It will not be there much longer, as near as I could tell. Snow White has dropped down to 13. Thank God.
Not far enough.
That's really it. So my thought with Robert with Superman is I think it safely gets to 500 million. It could conceivably get to 700 million. I don't see it getting to $1 billion. What do you think?
Billion seems like a stretch. Not impossible, just a bit of a stretch.
I think if it had a $300 to a $400 million weekend, almost certainly it would have. I'll be curious. This weekend coming up will be the tell because it doesn't really have competition in the I Know What You Did Last Summer requel. And
Word of mouth.
And that's the thing is the movie has some fairly positive word of mouth coming out of this weekend. So I think people who are burned on a lot of the DC stuff don't necessarily go to the movies or skeptical, et cetera, I think are now, because this thing has got, again, so much social media hype. Like my TikTok feed today was full of Superman takes.
I'm sure it was.
So my suspicion is it'll be the number one movie going into this week because I don't think anyone gives two shits to the fuck about this I Know What You Did Last Summer requel.
No one does.
Yeah. You guys have any concerted thoughts you would like to share on whether or not Superman is number one next weekend and whether or not it has a smaller drop than normal? I'm thinking if all goes well and the word of mouth produces a good second weekend, I think it only drops to maybe 54%.
I think it holds pretty steady. I think the word of mouth is good, and I think some people are going to want to see it more than once.
I actually am going to see it more than once. My parents didn't want to go on opening weekend with us because they hate crowds. I told them I would go see it with them again if they wanted to go this weekend when it'll be a little quieter.
Since there's not much else to talk about in as far as the money goes, I did want to address some of the backlash the movie is getting. There are two kind of camps about this movie in terms of backlash. There was and I can't decide which one is dumber. I'll let you guys decide.
I can answer that question for you real fast.
Well, let me introduce it, and then you can jump right on this topic and have your way with it. So one stupid argument is the Snyder Bros going, "This is not my Superman," as if there's only one kind, and it's a lot of deep down inside. Even though we're full-grown men, many of us in our 30s and 40s, we're still 13. And we like things that are meant for 13-year-old boys, but we need it to be dark and serious and sexy and gritty so as we can feel good about liking something that was meant for children.
You shouldn't feel good about liking something that's meant for children. Grow up. Resolve your cognitive dissonance.
Just let me get there. Which is why they like Zack Snyder's DC universe and specifically Henry Cavill's Man of Steel. And they are aggravated at this cartoon-accurate, comic book-accurate interpretation of hopeful, bright-eyed, and bushy-tailed Superman. So there's that. Give me a half a sec. Well, you know what? Let me tell you what the other thing is, and then Robert, you can jump on this because I know you're chomping at the bit. The other side of this, and I addressed it on my TikTok, and I find this hilarious and sad at the same time. So Variety beat James Gunn to death until he told them what they wanted to hear.
One reporter. No. One entertainment content creator with a variety microphone,
Yes.
harassed everyone at that red carpet, saying, "It's a political movie, isn't it?" And everyone except James Gunn looked at him like he was growing a third head and said, "It's just a movie." But
Right.
James Gunn can't do that.
Yeah, so they beat James Gunn until he finally gave him the answer that he wanted, and he said, it's
Then
an
they
evergreen
misquoted
story.
him to spin up controversy
Right.
for engagement farming, because this is the entertainment news
But
complex, and you don't hate them enough.
The thing that rose to prominence from where I was looking was the 5 on Fox News had to run a whole thing on it, and in big friendly letters said "woke Superman," which has now become the framing device for the debate over what this movie is. Is it woke or not? Which was then, because when everyone saw the movie, then everyone had to redefine the argument by saying, because they're taking the whole "to be kind is to be punk rock" thing and be like, yes, that's what that, but it is woke, and that's what makes it woke, and being woke is good. This is so stupid, it makes my head hurt. So when I have a headache, I tag my partner and Robert with a hot tag to give his take on these two wildly stupid arguments. Robert?
Yeah, the Snyder Bros need to get over it. I don't have a better way to phrase it. I enjoyed Man of Steel a lot. I cared much less for the other movies. I was happy that Zack Snyder's Justice League got made because I wanted to see his vision and not what Joss Whedon turned it into, with plenty of meddling and sexual harassment.
But and unconfirmed racism.
Two completely different issues: the meddling and the sexual harassment. But
they're more involved than you might think. But and poor Ben Affleck, who got into good shape for that role and then got out of shape because he couldn't maintain it. And who could at his age?
At least he wasn't Kate Mara. Here, put this wig on. You look like a TikTok version of Donald Trump.
Oh God.
So point being, I'm glad all those exist, but. And look, I feel bad for Henry Cavill. I feel bad for Henry Cavill about a lot of things he's done because he is so much better.
The Witcher, Superman.
He got screwed on The Witcher 8 Ways from Sunday. And
yeah, what was that last Guy Ritchie film that he was in?
The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, which Mark and I both rather enjoyed.
No. The one before that. The one with the cat.
Oh, he's talking, fuck. I'll look it up in a second. But it's the one where... what's her face from
Argyle?
Argyle, yeah, he got screwed on Argyle.
That was the marketing that screwed everybody on that one. But so I feel bad for him, and I really am pulling for whatever his Warhammer 40K thing is at Amazon to really be good. Partially because, surprise, surprise, Robert likes the Warhammer universe, but also because the guy just really deserves a win at this point.
Didn't he get? Is it confirmed he got cast as James Bond?
No.
Okay, that's still.
The only thing we know is that Denis Villeneuve is directing the new one. We don't have a
there's
casting.
hope.
I heard Aaron Taylor Johnson's actually the lead for the choices now. I know you two are going to hate that.
He's probably the front runner, yeah. He's also like the one I would care least for, but at least it's not Nicholas Hoult or Pedro Pascal, so thumbs up.
Please stop with the Pedro Pascal and all his clones.
No. I'm getting warmed up. I gotta get back into fighting shape for 2 weeks. I gotta do in 2 weeks, man. You can't just jump into that cold. You'll pull something.
Let me stop you so I can get Ben's thoughts just on the Snyder Bros on nonsense. Do you have any concerted thoughts about the Snyder Bro controversy, sir?
I'm kind of with Mark. Kind of with Robert. It's been a long day.
You gotta let it go, man. The Rock. Look, if you want to blame someone, blame The Rock.
I'm with what Robert had just said. Like it's been X many years. I said what I needed to say about Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill was a very good Superman in some mediocre to terrible Superman movies. I liked some things about him there, but overall they weren't my cup of tea. And DC moved on, and Henry Cavill has tried to move on, but like the fandom, much less so. And
let me ask you this, Ben. You talk to people. You're a lot nicer than Robert and I are collectively and separately. When somebody
You don't know that.
You're a perfectly nice boy who loves his mother. You listen to me now. You're in the comic book store, you're thumbing through the back issues, and somebody walks up to you, and he looks at your Superman shirt and the bright eyes that you have, and he says, "Sir, my God, this James Gunn Superman is not my Superman. My Superman, and the only Superman that matters, is the Henry Cavill, Zack Snyder version." And then he hands you a jar of piss. What do you say to that guy?
I direct him to the bathroom first of all. But then I'd probably direct him to the back issues because clearly he hasn't read a whole lot.
How is it that 20 years of comic book movies still haven't made comic books any more popular?
Movies.
Some of that is the industry kind of cannibalizing itself, but that's I am not as much of a comic book person as I am, personally and professionally. I'm not the person to go into detail as to why that is. That's not my lane. Not tonight anyway. But what I'd say is, that was, if I really wanted to start an argument that was never going to end, I'd just be like, well, he was our Superman first. So
fair. Alexis,
what you do is point him to the old woman by the counter and go ask her about the best Superman, and it's going to be Christopher Reeve, and you can scream at her about it.
Alexis, do you have anything in 50 words or less succinctly to say about the Zack Snyder shit?
Well, I will say the people who are complaining about Superman being woke are the same assholes who said that X-Men is dead because they made Morph non-binary. So as far as I'm concerned, they can all go jump off a cliff.
Well said. Now, Robert, would you like to talk about this poor event that happened at the red carpet by this idiot reporter and what had it wrought?
I'd like that reporter to be shunned, flogged, and then ridden out of town on a rail in inverse order, if possible.
Monorail.
Okay. Look, this is just a byproduct of one, Variety not being worth the digital space it occupies, much less anything approximating physical locations, employees, or print media that I would not use as toilet paper. All they can do, because this is how the modern ecosystem works, is rage bait to generate click engagement. Because this is how they sell ad space, and this is what they think will benefit them. So no one cares. Can I tell you the least believable thing about this movie? By the way, I held off on this, but
no, please, the floor is yours.
That a journalistic report would immediately engender that kind of reaction from the fandom or have that much trust in its accuracy.
I mean, maybe if it had, instead of being the Daily Planet, it had gone to the Drudge Report, it might have. But
Just saying, like, to the extent that journalistic ethics or integrity ever existed to begin with, and boy, is that a separate debate, it is beyond dead in the year of our Lord 2025, replaced with bad hucksters and carnival barkers, desperate to get you to say something that they can then chop up ellipses all to hell and point at on their website with big, bright, shiny arrows that say, click me, deal with 18 million pop-ups, and be outraged. And then this just regurgitates itself because everyone has to then respond to these misquotes with outrage to feed their own horrifying audiences. It creates this just ungodly Ouroboros where I can only hope that at one point, somewhere in the distant future, before the heat death of the universe, there will be some form of cosmic justice for these pathetic shitbags.
So,
are you done with the soapbox?
On that,
no.
Shut up. On that topic, because there was a New York Post, and I swear to God, not the New York Star, not the New York Sandy Nugget, the New York Post. Some would call it a newspaper.
Former newspaper, right there with the Times.
Reported on a teacher who was identifying as a cat. And this caused an outrage, and then people were like calling for this teacher to be fired, which this teacher was, except that when anyone bothered to do any kind of research, none of what the Post reported was true, and it turns out this teacher was not identifying as a cat, nor did she have a name tag that said "per." It was PRR, and it stood for whatever it stood for. My point in bringing this up is it came up in my algorithm on Facebook as a legit post by the New York Post that a teacher got fired for identifying as a cat because they knew that the boomers, the only people left on Facebook, would see that and go, "What the hell is going on in this world? Why are teachers identifying as cats?" without a shred of the Google search it took or a ChatGPT prompt to find the truth out.
That quote, and I quote, none of what the Post reported is true. That is evergreen. Just throwing that in there.
Ronnie in to shake his fist and tell us about the onions on his belt. Who the fuck are you calling a boomer, Mark? Robert fucking shaking his New York Post at me. All right. Unless
you did the picture of him yelling at the cloud.
Unless there's anything else going on in the movie world that you guys wanted to talk about, it doesn't have to be about Superman. I mean, I know that there's a lot of controversy about this Fantastic Four film coming out, that apparently Pedro Pascal can't get out of his own way. And I hear there's a thing called Pedro Pascal fatigue that's happening.
I'd really like him not to get out of the way of an oncoming train.
You and Jason alike.
But Ben, anything that tickles your nipples that you want to talk about in the world of movies and media?
No, I'm looking quite forward to Fantastic Four, actually, but
I hope you enjoy it.
I hope I do too, and I hope you do too.
I'm hoping for not annoyed. That's what I'm hoping for. That's the bar I've set for Fantastic Four, to not annoy me.
Well, they've still got another 3 days to reshoot the ending again if they feel so inclined.
It's gonna, by the time they're done with this movie, it's gonna look like Velocipaster, where the effects won't be done. It'll just be like insert effects here.
I really need to see that.
Alexis, got anything in the world of movies and news you wanted to bring up real quick? You can just say no if the answer is no.
I'm looking forward to seeing Fantastic Four too.
Awesome. Robert, anything else before we move on to the critical review?
I am not looking forward to Fantastic Four, but I'm a miserable curmudgeon, so, you know.
Fantastic. A miserable curmudgeon is the phrase that pays here on the Rattleton Broadcasting Network. So with that said, here comes the critical review.
Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Well, all of this is accurate. We have an 83% on the tomato meter. That's all critics. Top critics drops it to a 72. Still about what I thought. Verified audience is 93%. All audiences, 90%. Also, no surprises here. The AI writes, pulling off the heroic feat of fleshing out a dynamic new world while putting its champion, big beating a heart front and center, the Superman flies high as a man of tomorrow, grounded in the here and now. Well, that's not the worst thing I've seen the AI write on here.
That's a badly structured sentence, though.
Yes, sir. The audience says, me like Superman, me like Superman. But they also said, James Gunn brings back a timeless hero with Superman and gifts us a four-legged scene stealer. Ugh. You and your fucking dogs. That we can all rally behind. Oh, God.
Can I tell you the least despicable thing that Lex Luthor did in that whole movie was abduct that dog and stick electrodes in its brain so it could just chase squirrels and go away?
The fact that they put capes on the squirrels.
I'm getting both of you a stuffed crypto doll for Christmas.
I will feature it prominently on my desk and look angrily at it. All right.
I can't stop you, but I can advise you against that.
Speaking of things I look angrily at, Stephanie Zacharik of Time Magazine, top critic. Sadly, there's almost zero magic in Gunn Superman. Its special effects are more overbearing than special. The plot is all problem solving and no poetry.
I didn't say anything about this because I know no one wants to hear my assessment of this movie, and that's fine. I can keep it to myself. There's big stretches of this movie that are just ugly, and they're not supposed to be. There's a lot of CGI in this that does not land. Some of it looks real good, but that just makes the other stuff look real bad. As for the rest of it, yeah, Supreme Pontiff of Magic over there. Okay, I'll take your word for that.
Michael Ward of Should I See It? If you can't beat them, join them. Not a helpful review, jackass.
I was gonna say,
Not at all.
Why was that the chosen line?
Because like many of us, he has been beaten down by the just let people enjoy things crowd, and why do I need to think about this crowd, and I want to just turn my brain off crowd, and eventually you either die or you give up and join the other side, and I'm not doing either yet, but death is looming.
Speaking of looming death, Jeffrey Harris of 401mania.com.
That's a heck of a transition.
That's what she said. James Gunn's version of Superman gets more right than wrong. However, the film at times suffers from an overcrowded plot with far too many characters and subplots.
Also true.
There is a good movie at its core, but it sometimes gets lost and tangled up.
Well, speaking of too many characters, apparently we may be getting a Mr. Terrific spin-off series.
Yeah, they're gonna spin off Mr. Terrific and Jimmy Olsen. God help us.
Can I tell you how I'm fine calling this a great movie and saying how much I love it and talking joyfully about it, and I don't want to see anything else? Like, I really wish this was the end. I don't want anything else from DC, James Gunn, Warner Brothers, nothing. Just let me have my Superman movie and leave me the fuck alone. But a Clayface body horror movie seems interesting. What do you think about that? Who are you again? Benjamin, J. Cologne, and all the things.
I had that coming. I accept that. I deserve that one. Yeah, I heard about this earlier today. It sounds like they're gonna pretty much adapt the two-part like origin from Batman the Animated Series, which was fantastic. So if they do that, I'm all about that. If they make some kind of live adaptation about that and expand it.
Any idea who's directing it? Because I have some ideas, like James Wan, for example.
I thought Flanagan was directing it.
Oh, you're right. That was announced.
No, was it?
I don't know.
Like Flanagan.
I like Mike Flanagan too. I don't know if he's right for a body horror movie.
He did some things with Haunting a Hill House that were kind of like,
adjacent.
Yeah, so I could see it.
Look, the actor who gets cast as Clayface will get all the monologues he can chew on at least.
Speaking of adjacent to Robert Winfrey, Armand White of National Review. Gunn's objective is to banalize the very concept that Snyder sought to elevate. He demeans Superman's virtue. He demeans his virtue, Ben. He demeans his virtue, Ben.
Okay, this is a guy who loves to see his Superman as a god.
I said Ben's name 3 times, and everyone talked over Ben. Ben!
I mean, it seems like there's a lot that, that particular reviewer wants to say that didn't say. I'd be curious for specifics on what virtue he perceives as being demeaned.
Armand White is so embittered he can't discern between earnestness and cynicism.
Walter Shaw from Film Freak Central, which must be his Tumblr blog. I felt younger than I have in decades watching it. Oy.
I think there's something to be said about watching a superhero movie that makes you feel like a kid enjoying something like that.
I agree with the sentiment. I don't agree with that should be in your review as a professional critic.
Okay, fine. Sentence structure sucked.
I felt a decade older after watching this, so we balance out. Like, that's not useful.
Yeah. Pat Bulfamonte of the Montiverse YouTube. I just wanted to say all of that out loud. Superman feels like the beginning of a new age of comic book cinema, one that is uninhabited by the limitations we put on the genre. If this movie is anything to go by, then I think it is safe to say that the pantheon of DC characters is in good hands. Watch Warner Brothers fire him tomorrow.
Yeah. Somebody's getting downsized real fast.
All right. Where are some of our friends and wives and husbands? Cara O'Doherty of The Echo, Ireland. Gunn's dedication to the comics means that he has made a film that features lighter moments, leans into some goofiness, but also bursts with warmth and heart, just like Superman should.
Can't really argue with that.
Superman. Nicholas Bell of Fish Jelly Films, YouTube. While not as emotionally potent or meaningfully dynamic as Gunn's previous superhero ensembles, His ardent Superman reboot is a sweet reminder how speaking truth to power has always been punked with a popcorn tentpole, sadly more politically prescient than ...
Okay, this is a guy who's, again, just trying to get his political blog masqueraded as a movie review.
Can I throw something in here real quick? Because there's a lot of talk about like punk this and punk that, and I am firmly of the opinion that no two punk fans can agree on what punk is and isn't anyway. So
That is correct.
So just throwing that out there. I mean, like everybody, you ask, 10 punk fans for an opinion on what punk is, and you're gonna get 12 answers. So yeah.
12 punk fans, 13 answers.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Kyle Smith of the Wall Street Journal, top critic, former newspaper. Mr. Gunn is determined to shake things up a lot, and does. Different, however, is not always good.
That guy definitely is a Snyder bro.
I'm not entirely sure how this... Oh, God.
You know what kills me is that Man of Steel is a decent Superman film. It's just then they let Snyder have complete creative control with Batman v Superman, and he just freaking destroyed it.
You just have to look at who wrote some of these movies to see where the problems start. Man of Steel succeeds where it succeeds because it has a decent writer, and Snyder's is kind of along for the ride. Then he starts writing, and it goes downhill.
The future...
This movie's partially written by Akiva Goldsman, and I would really happily shove him out a window.
Speaking of being shoved out a window, Josie Melendez of Cinemania World Podcast. If the new age of DC is one that makes fun of women's intelligence, I don't want it.
What?
Wow, way to hyper-focus on one part of this movie, ma'am, or whatever you are.
Wait, is she making fun of Eve?
Yes.
How in the world can you look at this movie where Lois is so much of an important character and go, it's making fun... Oh, no, there's a dumb female character. Whatever will we do?
So it eclipses everything else in this movie, including the other women. That's how this works.
Yes, because any negative representation obfuscates, destroys, or demeans all other positive representation. This is why I don't take the argument about representation seriously from anyone.
Besides, even if she is played up as a dumb bimbo, she's the one that brings Lex down.
She turned out to be a whole ass plot point, actually.
I laughed hard at all of that. Speaking of things I laugh at, Joanna Langfield of the Movie Minute. James Gunn's reboot is always super, but man, it sure does get the franchise flying off to a pretty high start. Someone take this woman's computer away.
No kidding.
Lyra Hale of Fangirlish. Superman's biggest strength rests on Clark Kent's unapologetically humane way of facing this world, no matter the challenges he may face, and on David Corenswet and Rachel Brosnahan's effortless chemistry.
Agree.
Yeah. Current film critic monster Amy Nicholson of Los Angeles Times, top critic. A Superman who isn't too sweet or too serious, frankly, he's a little stupid. Speaking of a little stupid, Doug Walker of Channel Awesome. A messy spectacle, but still a spectacle. I think actually that's a lot of people's criticism, is that this wasn't a spectacle. This felt like an episode of the Superman show.
More important.
Yeah, I was going to say, look at Nick Shager's reviews. It's like resembles a Saturday morning cartoon.
Robert, you were saying?
I was just gonna, you know what? I lost it. It doesn't matter that much.
Speaking of things I've lost, Grace Randolph of Beyond the Trailer. Very loyal to the comics, which might not work for everyone, but fans will be thrilled. This is the best Superman and James Gunn movie to date. To focus on Superman's kindness as his greatest strength is a fresh and timely approach, also very funny.
Can I tell you, none of the humor... I'm not just going to say none of the humor landed for me, because my sense of humor is weird. I acknowledge this. I watched this movie with my mother. The humor didn't land for her. And I know none of you know my mom, but that's saying something.
Humor me real quick, Robert, because she said, Grace Randolph said this was Gunn's best film, and you said no, it wasn't. I just got to get, for a comparison's sake, what do you think is James Gunn's best film as a writer and a director? I know he's written a lot of films where he wasn't a director. I just got to know where you lie on this.
James Gunn is listed as the CEO of DC Studios now because we have people with senses of humor running these things. Hang on. And I will tell you. As a writer, These things do I think as a writer? You know what? No, the answer to both is super.
Okay.
Actually,
Okay.
I forget he does. I constantly forget that he did that, but yeah, I'd go with super.
I
Okay.
can't find any of your wives. They did none of them like fucking review this movie. Oh, speaking of which, William
Well,
Bibiani, the rap top critic.
That's because you don't have access to my backyard.
James Gunn tried to make a great Superman movie, one that embraces the wonder of the character as an action hero and a moral paragon, which derives its drama from how people react to his faith in us. He succeeded. Well, thank you, William. Friend of the show. Best friend of the show, that is. I'll do one or two more of these. All right. Roger Friedman of Showbiz 411. Gunn has given us the new DC Comics Superman the energy of his first Guardians of the Galaxy movie without the total sarcasm, but still stressing profundity about the character and his self-appointed mission in life. Fantastic. Well, folks, that is our review of The Superman. Ben, did you have fun? It's been a long time since we've rock and rolled.
Yeah, this was good. I mean, I probably did more homework than I needed to, but yeah.
Better to over prepare than under prepare.
I asked you several times if you had anything more to say, and you said no. No, I've said too much. I've said. You dropped your kerchief on the ground, and I had to pick it up. It's the whole thing.
One last thing. I'm gonna inject one last thing into
Please
here.
inject me with your one last thing.
Yeah. Because I got to get this out of here. It's the last thing in bold that I have on here. Probably not, but the most important thing.
Yes,
and
sir.
it goes back to like some of the controversy that some people were making of this that was really stupid. You can call it a personal opinion if you want. This is what I wrote down. It's just all chatter aside. Like, let's be totally clear. Superman is inherently a story of an orphan refugee's migration journey to reach and then fit into his adopted home, and it informs every Superman story by definition. That's the other piece of what's important to me about the character. So there's been some pushback against that, and I don't understand it, and I probably never will.
That people don't like nuance, or people are simple, unread. What can one say, Ben? What can one say, Ben, except where can people find your marvelous works?
It's right over here. It's Epic Benjamin J on everything, on all the things. That includes Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube, Blue Sky. I probably got a carrier pigeon out there with my name on it somewhere.
You live in New York. It's almost a guarantee.
So I know you're an artist and you draw things, but do you still have a working comic that people can get a hold of?
I'm working on it. I've been working on it for a very long time. Let me see if I can get. I have right now. This is as close as I've got to it.
Oh, okay.
It's called Heroes One and All. I'm working on issue 1 of it. This is a preview, and I'm gonna try to make it available to anyone who wants it. I've been giving these out for free, so anybody that wants one. It's a very very short thing that I made for a convention a couple years ago. I was able to knock it out in like a month, which was kind of a miracle, and I'm very proud of it. So I am hoping to get the first like full issue completed this year, but I've been saying that for a very long time, and life keeps
true
getting
eventually.
I hope so. I've got a lot of it drawn. I want to finish it. I really do. It's been too long, and I used to be a lot faster with this sort of thing. So just keep an eye on my social medias. I'm going to try to start streaming again as soon as it becomes less insufferably hot in this room where I draw. So hopefully by the end of next month sometime, I'll, get back into the swing of things.
So the next time you're going to bother me for a podcast will be what? Spider-Man Brand New Day?
Maybe depending on, whichever one comes first, that or the third Spider-Verse movie.
At this rate, I'm pretty sure Brand New Day is
right. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking the same thing, which is a shame because I adored the other two Spider-Verse movies.
Oh, absolutely.
That was the other thing. My girlfriend who posted a little bit earlier, mentioned, that it was Spider-Verse, this movie, the Superman movie, and I think Godzilla -1. She literally looked over at me in the theater and saw me transform into an 8-year-old boy, on each one of them.
Well, Godzilla -1 will do that.
That was such a good movie.
That theme music kicked in, and I'm like,
Oh yeah.
I went somewhere in my brain, but yeah, my brain went back to a long time ago.
All right, Alexis, tell them where they can find all of your materials.
All right. Yep. Honeysuckle Hustle. Honeysuckle Rose Creations for fashion meets fandom at the intersection of geek and chic. I mentioned this at the start of the show. If you're just tuning in, the reason I am not in my humble abode, I am currently in Oklahoma City because I inked a deal today to have our work sold here at Game HQ. It's a really awesome game shop here in Oklahoma City. So excited. This is now the third shop that we're selling in addition to Mayhem Collectibles up in Des Moines and Mind Games and Magic in Kansas City.
Awesome. Alexis will be hosting the TV party this Wednesday, the day after tomorrow. We're going to be talking about the Amazon Prime series. I Know What You Did Last Summer. Oh, I have things to say.
Mark would rather have watched the parody I Know Who You Did Last Summer.
You're damn tootin'.
Next weekend and after that, next week we're going to be reviewing The Bear. Side note, David messaged me. He wants in on that.
Oh,
It's
super.
the bear. The bear's fun.
Yeah.
All right, so it'll be me, you, David, and Andrew. That'll be fantastic. So that's the Bear season 4.
Yeah, and we also have we've got so many shows coming up. We got Resident Alien season 4, which we got to review. We just got we got Twisted Metal season 2 that's going to start here at the end of the month. I need to get that on the schedule. Looking at something in the first week of September for that.
What's the next Damn You Hollywood you're coming on for?
Am I on for Fantastic Four?
Did you want to be on for Fantastic Four?
I didn't know if anyone else had asked first. If someone else
actually, now let me double check because now I don't know.
No, that's seriously. It's like,
yeah,
look,
you're already on for 4.
Yeah, it's like I would love to be on it, but if somebody else has already asked, I don't want to be like, well, me too, because Mark, I know how you get when we get an overcrowded show, and I would happily step out to avoid that headache.
Okay, no, you're good. There's nobody else. No, nobody else wants any part of Fantastic Four or Pedro Pascal. So
I'm fine with Pedro Pascal. Yeah, like I said, Jason was on when we discussed The Last of Us season 2, and we talked the Pedro Pascal fatigue on that.
Okay. Anyway, yesterday there was such an easy game to play. What the fuck did I do yesterday? I don't remember anymore. Oh, yesterday was the Metal Hammer
gambling.
Shut up! I haven't done that in a while. You
Gambled?
mean? Yes, I more or less given it up. Yeah, I walked away from it. I have stocks that are doing really, really well now. So I'm like, I want to hang on to money.
Okay, no. You're gambling on something else now. You're still gambling.
Anyway,
you know the line that precedes the the Simpsons bit that we have for the money?
Yeah.
You know the line that precedes it?
You're supposed to sell the pumpkins before Halloween, not after.
No.
Oh, it's not that one?
Beak.
Mr. Simpson, are you aware of the responsibility and dangers of stock ownership?
Oh, yeah. Anyway, so yesterday, before that public service announcement, we did a Metal Hammer of Doom Extra. We talked Bloodywood, the new album, New Delhi. Do you get it? Do you get it, Ben? Do you get it? New Delhi? Do you get it, Ben? Do you get it? New Delhi? We also talked.
Your blocking is all off there, Mark. We can't see what you're doing with your hand.
That's the way I like it, baby. We also talked Led Zeppelin at Live Aid. We talked.
Gonna leave that. I had to come back. I'm gonna leave it alone.
We talked about Dio's second album. Jesse threw the top 3 downloaded Kiss songs into a word counter, and it turns out Kiss songs not at a high reading level, not at all. So that was fun. And then we talked.
They and Taylor Swift are about on equal footing.
I talked about how I took my son to go see Ninja Sex Party. I sent him a text message. I said, "Son, this is back in January." I said, "Son, how would you like your father?" I call myself father. How would you like your father to take you to a ninja sex party? Completely out of context. Texted him while he was at school. I was like, "Son, how would you like it if your father took you to a ninja sex party?" And he was like, "Would I ever?" Neither one of us knew what this was, by the way. And that was all I said.
I could have enlightened you. I know what that is.
Well, we've been to the concert. we've been to the concert already. He had a great time. It's a fun band. I took my kids to go see Clutch. We had a good time with that. I told the story last night. I told them, I'm like, if they play Impetus, you better protect your neck because you're about to get hit in it. And lo and behold, Clutch played Impetus, and right as soon as Neil Fallon said Impetus, Jonas punched right in the neck. It was like he was like, Father, how prescient! I can't believe you predicted that. And I'm like, I told you, protect your neck at all times.
Yeah, but you're the one who punched him, so I'm not sure how.
No, I was fending off other burly men at the time, as you do in a mosh pit at Clutch. Anyway, so we talked about that. Mick talked about going to a recent Gwar show. So we had a really fun show last night. Wednesday, the aforementioned I Know What You Did Last Summer show. Thursday, we actually get to talk about the movies. It'll be myself and Sean Comer. We'll be talking about all three I Know What You Did Last Summer movies.
They're not good.
And then Saturday, Evan Bevins and I will go to the comic book store with the apple that we all adore. And we'll be talking Hercules. This Hercules right here. I have it right on my desk. Yes, sir. Hercules from Radical Comics. We will be comparing it to the movie with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I watched that with my son, and he went, "This isn't as good as Ninja Sex Party." So, with that said, Robert, what do you got? What kind of Ninja Sex Parties are you attending?
You need to tweet that to The Rock. Your movies are not as good as a Ninja Sex Party.
And
I
just
know
leave it at
Dave.
that.
I know Dan Avedon would love that.
Robert, your plugs in fast fashion.
Yeah, so I cover mixed martial arts and professional wrestling. This last week, I got suckered into doing a double shift on Saturday. So I covered NXT's Great American Bash.
I bailed on that after Ethan Page versus Ricky Saints.
You got out at the right time. That was easily the best match on that card.
I went to an Amish restaurant and got giant portions of chicken. Yoder's in Sarasota. Yoder.
I thought you wanted this to be done quickly.
It doesn't matter when I stop it. Only when Alexis stops you or you go too long is when it matters. Yes, honey. Anyway, you were saying...
Was that about speaking truth to power?
All right, I'm done. Go ahead.
So I covered that and then immediately went to cover UFC on ESPN 70, which overperformed my very low expectations. A lot of crap, but at least most of it didn't last very long, so thumbs up to that. Let's see, this week I'll be covering WWE SmackDown on Fridays, which I usually do, in UFC 318 on Saturday. The last ride of the Diamond Dustin Poirier, one of the last great action heroes of the godforsaken sport. He'll have his third fight with Max Holloway. You can listen to me sort of preview it. I had a real struggle with that podcast for reasons. But I have a review of the UFC and ESPN 70 card and a preview of UFC 318. So listen to the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast. If you're interested in the wide, wacky, wonderful world of mixed martial arts. Thankfully, I got that in before the news about Conor McGregor broke today, because I did not want to discuss his penis. You want to ask, Mark?
I hate you. I hate you so much.
You want to ask? Go ahead and ask.
I'm going to throw myself into the floating platinum record in space. No, I can't. I can't
ask. You have to ask.
I don't want to. You can't make me.
So on his birthday,
oh, damn it,
Conor McGregor had sent unsolicited dick pics to a fairly famous musician. She didn't take kindly to that and just threw them on the internet.
It was Azalea Banks, which is always a bad idea to interact with her.
In general, yes. Much less like that.
Yes.
So I didn't have to talk about that on my podcast. I instead got to yell about John Jones retiring 2 weeks ago and now going, hey, there's going to be a UFC event on at the White House. I'd like to do that. I maintain Tom Aspinall should just refuse to fight him at this point, just because I'm sick of this turkey nonsense. Anyway, so listen to that if you're so inclined. Yeah, next week, Mark and I will be reviewing the new I Know What You Did Last Summer, where Freddie Prinze Jr. looks like a bit of a catcher's mitt. He has not aged all that gracefully.
And we've killed Ben. Hold on.
Did not see that coming. Have I told you? Have I told you that I missed you lately, Robert?
No, that's not been a thing said about me very often.
Well, absence makes the heart grow fonder. We see Ben once every Haley's Comet, so.
I know.
All right. Well, folks, thank you for this just under 2 hours edition of Damn You Hollywood, the way God intended it to be, in our review of The Superman. For good to his mother, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, the ever-talented, epic Benjamin J. and all the things. For Alexis Hayner, who was moderately well-behaved, she gets a half a cookie. And for Robert Winfrey, who is going to tell us what he read in the tax code, I have TikToks to make. Be well, be safe, and behave.